Buffalo, buffalo. Oh, buffalo, buffalo. Oh, buffalo, buffalo. Oh, stop, turkey. Oh. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Charlie Teminyan and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna be talking about how to think like a programmer to solve problems. Buffalo, buffalo. Basic idea is, looking at this scene right here, it looks extremely complex, right? There's a bunch of houses, there's flowers, there's cars, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But if you break it down into separate problems, separate smaller problems, and try and solve those one by one, that is going to give you an advantage, and you will actually break down a very complex scene into something that is much more manageable. Buffalo, buffalo. Okay, you guys, so we are right here in VS Code, and I have one problem for you to practice on. So obviously this is a very simple question or problem, but the same techniques that we talked about apply to this. What we need to do first is step number one is let's read the question. So it says, write a function that returns the factorial of a given number. If the number is equal to 0 or 1, return 1 as the result. Okay, now let's slow down. Now let's say that this is our complex problem. We don't know what the hell is going on, what it's asking us for. Let's start to break it down by reading it line by line, word for word, and writing down what we know. So let's take the first few sentences or the first few words right here. Write a function. Okay, perfect. So that means we need a function right there. Okay, now write a function that returns. Okay, so we need to return something. So return something. And as you guys can see, I am just breaking it down into smaller steps that I can easily understand and tackle step by step. Okay, so that returns the factorial of a given number. Now here it gets tricky right here. So returns the factorial of a given number. Okay, so we are going to have to look at this factorial thing. I don't know what it is. I'm going to assume that, or just pretend that I don't know what it is. I'm just going to note it down here as a step because it is part of the solution. We need to look at what factorial is. And then right after factorial, it says of a given number. So basically what that means is you are going to be given a number. So you need to take that number into consideration. So we can note that as take a number into the function, right? So basically it says write a function that returns the factorial of a given number. So we are going to be given a number and then we need to return the factorial of that number. Okay, and then let's see, what else do we have? If the number is equal to 0 or 1, just return 1 as the result. Okay, that's simple. If number is 0 or 1, just return 1. And as you guys can see, we broke down this kind of vague / complicated question into very basic instructions that we can start to work on one by one. Okay, so let's start actually working on this thing. And again, don't worry about like this one or this one or this step. Just start with the first one that you know. We need a function. Okay, let's write a function. So we'll say function, let's just call it factorial. There it is. Done. Our first step is done. We can cross this one out. Okay, now next thing, it needs to return something. Okay, so we need to return something. So let's just say for now we will just do return value, just like that. Okay, and what just happened? VS Code, are you kidding me? Just return a value. And of course you can't return a value without declaring a value, so we're just going to say like for now let value equals 1. Whatever, I'm not sure about this, but we will come back to this later on. All I know is that I need to return a value, and if I need to return a value, then somehow it needs to be declared inside the function, right? Or maybe I can just return whatever calculation right away. For now, let's just do it this very simple and rudimentary and stupid way. Okay, now next it says factorial. So I don't know what factorial is, but it is part of this problem, so we're gonna have to look it up. So let's just let me just open Google real quick, and I'll bring Google right here, and we'll say what is factorial, or let's just type factorial. There you go. Factorial: the product of an integer and all the integers below it. Example, factorial of 4 is equal to 24. Why is factorial of 4 equals to 24? Well, there it is right here. In mathematics, the factorial of a positive integer n, denoted as n bang or exclamation mark, is the product of all positive integers less than or equal to n. For example, the factorial of 5 is equal to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which equals to 120. Oh, okay. I see. Let's actually grab this. Can I copy it? Copy. Oh, I can't copy it. Oh, it's an image. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll just write it. We'll write it down right here. So I'll just say factorial of 5 is equal to 5 times 4. Sorry about that. My mic is covering the keyboard, that's why. So times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay. So this is the factorial of 5. This is what we learned about it. Okay, what does this mean? What does this stuff mean? If you guys can see between these two are together. Between these two and this one, it's basically saying like, okay, we are going to take a number into the actual function, and then we are going to calculate its factorial by going 1 minus that number until we hit 1. Okay, is that making any sense to you? So let's tackle this step. Take a number into a function. So we need to take a number. So function factorial, and we are going to take n as our example. Cool. So whatever n is, we are going to keep decreasing n by 1 until it hits 1. Okay, so we have a function. We needed to return something right there. We now understand what the factorial is, and we actually throw in a number inside the loop. So what is left now? If you look at this, it says from the number, let's just assume that n is 5, from the number to 1. From the number to 1. Does that sound like a loop to you? I don't know, but it completely does sound like a loop to me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to throw in a very simple for loop. So let's say let I equals, let's see, do we want to start at n or start at 1 and go up to n? Well, it doesn't matter. Let's say I is equal to 1. Okay. And then I is less than and equal to n, because we want to include n into the actual calculation, I plus plus. Okay, so right now I have a loop that is going from 1 all the way up to n. Now n can be 5, n can be 20, n can be whatever. Cool. So what do we want to do with that? Well, what we want to do is we want to take that number which starts at 1, for example, right here it's going to start at 1, and then we need to times it by the number that is coming next. So basically, I'm going to take value times equals I. This line basically is saying that value is equal to the value times I. Okay, and these two are equal. This is just the shorthand of writing this. And what this means is, right now, let's go through it and think about it technically. It's very simple to understand. So the first time our value has a value of 1. So the first time the loop runs, I is 1 and value is 1. So it's 1 times 1, and we store that in value. So the first time the loop runs, what is the value of value? It is 1, right? Which is I, 1, and the first time 1. So now value is 1 the first time the loop loops. Now the second time the loop loops, we are going to say that the value is equal to the value from before that, which was 1, times I, which is 2, because the loop incremented. So now we got 1 times 2. What is that? 1 times 2 is 2. We store that into value. Now value is 2. Right? Okay, now we're going to loop again. What happened in the loop? What is value right now? Value is 2 from the step before that. And what is I? I became 3. So what's 3 times 2? That's 6. So we take 6, we store it inside value, we loop again. Value times what? So it's 6 times 4. Right? We store that into value. We keep going until we hit 5. So basically, let me explain that one more time. So first time in loop, value equals 1 and I equals 1. So value is equal to 1 times 1, right? Which equals to 1. Now, second time in loop, value is 1 from the step before it. I is equal to 2. My bad, I keep forgetting the comments. I is equal to 2, and sorry about that. I should be 1 over here. So the second time we loop, value is 1, which is 1 times 1 from the step before. I now incremented to 2. So now value is equal to 1 times 2, which is equal to 2. And then let me just copy this. Okay, guys, this should make sense right now. Third time inside the loop, what is the value of value? Well, it is from the step before, which is 2. I became 3 because the loop incremented. So the value becomes 2 times 3, which equals to 6. And we store that into the value. And then we go into the fourth time and the fifth time. And by the time we hit the fifth time, it is going to be whatever the product of value is times 5. Okay, I hope this makes sense to you. Let's quickly console log this and see if it's working. So we'll do console.log. Let's call the factorial of 5, just like in our example. I'll go to the website. What's the factorial of 5? 120. So let me save this. Let's run it. Let's do node test.js, and we get a bunch of freaking problems. What is this, man? What's going on here? Factorial is not a okay, probably factorial. There you go. Sorry about that. Let's clear this, run it again. Of course, it's not gonna work because we did it twice. It's great. I actually don't mind that you guys are seeing all this errors that I'm getting, because it makes you understand. And there you have it, 120, right? Let me go back to the website. Factorial of 5 is 120. Let's do the factorial of 7. Should be 5040. Factorial of 7 should be 5040. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We just took a big problem. We broke it down into very simple steps that we can follow one by one. Even the ones that we didn't know, we went and we did the research on it, and we broke it down into further smaller steps so we can move on. Now what's left? The last thing left is that if the number that is given to us, basically n, If n equals 0 or 1, just return 1 right away, and you don't even have to go through this loop. Okay, so basically what it means is, if n equals 0, okay, or n equals 1, if n is any one of those, just return 1 right away and don't even bother to go through this stuff. This is what's going to happen. Okay, so if n is 0 or 1, return 1, escape this function. You're done. If it's not, then we're going to declare a variable, do 1, go through the loop from 1 all the way to that number, which is 5 in this case, or 7. Keep time, store it inside value, return it when you're done. So let's test it out. Let's put 1, save. This should return 1. And there it is. Let's test it out. Put 0, save, run it again. And by the way, I'm hitting the key, my keyboard arrow up, the up arrow, to run the last function. And there you go. We have it, 1. So when it's 0 or 1, it's going to return 1. Otherwise, it's going to go through the loop. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This was a very, very simple example. But again, you can apply this to any major and complicated task that you get, or like an algorithmic question that you get. Just follow these steps, break it down into chunks that you can write one by one and check off. And I usually put it down right down to like stupid steps, like we need a function. You know why I do it like this? Because this is something very easy and you already know how to do it. And when it's something about human nature, when you start to solve a problem and cross stuff out, like, oh, I did this step, let's cross it out. I did this step, let's cross it out. You become more confident, and eventually you get this vibe like you can actually conquer and solve the situation. That's why I write down like very simple and stupid steps, like we need a function. No shit, bro, it says write a function. But I do it intentionally, especially for beginners, because you need the confidence to think that you can actually solve this problem, so you can solve it. So you write very simple steps that you can check off. Oh, look at that. I checked off this. I'm almost done with the problem. Oh, I checked these two off. Oh my God, there's nothing left. I'm almost done with this. See, that's the whole psychology behind it. Believe it or not, psychology has to do a lot with this stuff. So I hope you got the idea. I hope you learned something from this. This is a very simple example, but the lesson can be applied to a lot of very complicated situations. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, guys, or this tutorial. Just hit the like, subscribe if you enjoyed the stuff. Leave a comment for me if you want me to do different tutorials, or if you think like this was bullshit. I usually reply to everybody that comments. So that's it. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Peace.